Hello, everybody. I'm happy to see you here on Facebook Live. I'm Diana Daffner with Intimacy Retreats, and with me is Elizabeth Carrington, who's going to talk to us about erotic blueprints. Elizabeth, would you introduce yourself?
Sure, Diana, thank you. My name's Elizabeth Carrington, and I'm an intimacy and erotic blueprint coach. And I work with couples and singles to learn more deeply about their erotic selves and how to expand their pleasure and fulfillment in the bedroom.
Well, that sounds good. So, what is an erotic blueprint?
Yeah, it's an intriguing name, isn't it? So basically, there's a map called the Five Erotic Blueprints, which is similar to the five love languages, but this is just applied in the bedroom. So the five erotic blueprints are the fact that we have a different way that we access pleasure, in the same way that we have a different way that we receive love. And most people are with somebody who speaks a different erotic blueprint, if you will. And so learning our partner's blueprint as well as our own can augment a lot of our sexual interactions.
So, one of us might prefer a particular style or have a particular preference within us. Is this blueprint something we're born with, something that comes to us over time? How do we get
Yeah,
our blueprint?
I don't actually know the I haven't really thought much about, like, is there, was I this way as a baby, or I think for me more the practicality of it is what's true for me now, and where am I wanting to expand and potentially grow, because we can have access to all five of these. Most people have one place that's their home default that they start at. It's like, oh yeah, this one's mine. This one feels really good to me. This is the type of touch I need. Not that kind. No, I don't want scratching. That doesn't feel good to me. So
Ooh,
we all have different things that we say, oh, that really brings me alive and turns me on. So
that's great to know. That's really important for us and for our partners to know about us and for us to know about them. So
mhm.
go ahead, tell us if you can. We don't have a long time here, but give us a brief intro to the different ones. You say there's five. It's kind
There
of
are five.
like the
Yeah.
languages of love almost.
Yeah, very simple. Parallel. A lot of parallels. Yeah. So the first one is called the energetic. And the person who resonates deeply with the energetic blueprint is turned on by energy play. They like a lot of eye gazing connection. There's usually a component to them that's a spiritual connection with the other person. They like a very light, sometimes even just a hovering touch, very slow, very deep connection that can come from a lot of slow connected touch and presence. They're turned on by presence.
So those of you watching who have been to the intimacy retreat, you probably recognize that as kind of what kind of what a tantric approach, one aspect of tantra. So when you say energetic, it's not so much energetic, but about energy.
Yes, right.
It's about
That's right.
energy. So it's
The energetics flow very well with the tantric practices because a lot of that is about energy exchange and feeling and moving and connecting energetically with your partner. And yes,
it does, and that fits perfectly with the acronym for SEX, synchronized energy exchange.
that's right.
So yeah, so some people are more aligned with that without any training, without any just they just know that they kind of like that presence with their partner.
That's right. That's right. Yep. And I should also say that the each of the blueprints has their own shadow. So the shadow for the energetic is this sense of, like, sexually, like, energetically superior, like, oh, mine is a better version of sexuality because I'm spiritually connected. And so they
Right.
can get judgy about other forms of sexual connection, that seem like lower forms of life to them.
And they're not lower. They're all of these forms, all of these preferences or blueprints have kind of an equal, certainly valuable uh, way of expressing and enjoying our sexuality. So, what's the next one?
That's right. Absolutely. There's no right or wrong here. It's just really about learning and awareness about yourself. So the next one is the sensual. And the sensual is turned on by all kinds of pleasure of the senses, whether it's the smells of beautiful flowers or beautiful vistas or sunsets or food. They like the right kind of music to match the mood. They're turned on by, can be luxurious settings can turn them on. So they just love the pleasure of the senses. And they're very, they have this capacity. Energetics have the capacity to be energetically orgasmic, and sensuals have the capacity to be multi-orgasmic of all the senses. And their challenge, where they get stuck, is in their heads. Where they can be thinking, oh my God, something's not right in the space, or there's a pair of dirty socks on the floor, or the music isn't quite right. So these are the artists of the blueprints. They want to create artistic romance and connection, and they love this closeness, this cuddling, this physical contact, like get me closer kind of feeling. But they can get caught in their heads and judging that things aren't quite right. And if they're not quite right, they can't relax into their body and feel the immense pleasure available to them.
And we know how important relaxation is. And so the sensual aspect, that's also very tantric, because tantra invites us to really become aware of all our senses. And if those of you who may have been to an intimacy retreat, you know that we do a lot of work with sensory awakening and sensory awareness. And now I can understand how for some people just think that's oh my God, the best part of the workshop. They think, all of the senses, the sound and the smell, everything coming into play is so extraordinary. And other people, not so much, because we're different.
Exactly right. That's exactly what it is. It's like, yeah, that's nice, but it's not my jam. The sensuals are like, oh, finally, I want to diffuse some oils in the space. I love, the smell, So we are so different, and we can learn to appreciate others and expand into them. But we have our one that just is, oh, thank God I finally got to this place in the retreat because I love it so much,
And the next one.
The next one is the sexual blueprint, which is kind of like our, the stereotypical Western model of sex, which is very focused on intercourse, genital contact, orgasm as an end result of the interaction, certainty about having that. It's like, if I want to have sex, I want to know that's where we're going, right? We're not going to stop somewhere along the way. So the sexuals are very, they bring this like lightness and joyfulness to sex. It's like, hey, sex is easy. It's great. It's so fun. Everyone should just do it all the time. And they have this wonderful levity about how they feel about sexuality. And their shadow, like everyone has one, is a limited sense or range around their sexuality. So it's like, oh, who needs all that, sensory stuff? Who needs the energetic presence stuff? I'm fine. Just let's have sex. So they can have a limited definition of what they call sexuality.
So it's wonderful for them to learn this program because their partner might be bringing some of those other aspects to it. And I believe that those who have the sexual blueprint are so important to have in a relationship, because otherwise we might just forget about it altogether and become one of those sexless couples. So it's important that somebody really appreciates getting horny and getting off, that is valued. And then when the other aspects, the other possibilities of erotic sexuality are brought into play, and they're all for it because it just makes the sex better.
That's right. Yep. They definitely bring the spark and the drive to that end. Yeah, absolutely. It's great.
And the next one.
The next one is the kinky blueprint. So the kinky is a vast territory of exploration in and of its own right. Sort of for simplicity, we put them into buckets around psychological kink, kind of power games and play and that type of thing, or sensational kink of the senses. So that can be enjoying being tied up with rope. That can be ice and cold and heat and spanking and whipping and flogging, all kinds of different sensations that can come from a sensational kinky. And because this is such a taboo kind of territory, their shadow makes a lot of sense, which is shame, having shame around their sexuality. So the kinky blueprints need safe places and communities in which to explore this with others, because in our day-to-day society, many people look at that and say, oh, I would never do such a, there's a lot of judgment about this blueprint when you don't know anything about it and you have your ideas of what you make up about what it is.
And I suspect that many of us have fantasies that play
Mm,
in this particular blueprint that we're
mm,
often afraid to mention to our partner, afraid to
yeah.
say it out loud. And yet, if we do, it might again bring a lot of spice and interest and excitement to the relationship. And it does bring us to the edge. So it sounds like when the kink, but it's funny when when you think of ropes and kink, the tightness in a way kind of
Mm,
brings them to a heightening, almost into the energetic, almost into that energy level,
mm,
suddenly transforming or shifting into a different consciousness around the sexuality. So
mm.
yeah, it's great that you're welcoming and opening and letting people know that this is healthy and good and a good way to approach sexuality.
Yeah, I love it when I do the retreats or the evening sessions. When I get to this one, there's always this like a twinkle in the eye or something that happens in the room. It's like, oh, really? We're going to talk about this? Yes, we are. And inevitably, as you say, somebody's got something about, because kinky is really the realm of taboo. Whatever is taboo for you is kinky. That can be, something as significant or insignificant as changing your sexual position, right? Or it can
Exactly.
be going out naked in a raincoat to a park and having sex in a public place. It can be all kinds of things, right? So
Yeah.
whatever is your taboo, right, is the beginning of exploring your kink, if you will.
And just even talking about this with your partner definitely can up the ante.
Yes,
Yeah.
indeed. Shifts the whole vibe. Yep.
And you said there's five, so there's one more.
The last one is the shapeshifter.
Ooh.
And the shapeshifter is the most erotically sophisticated of them all because they can literally play in all the blueprints. They can adapt to any partner that they're with. They can accommodate that person's, primary blueprint, if you will. And they can move through them, back and forth through them different ways. They can have more than one thing happening at a time. They are the people that are always like more, more, more. Just bring it on. More people. Like I facilitate a retreat with a many hands massage, and the shapeshifters are like, I'm like, as an energetic, I'm like, okay, that's enough. Two people, I'm overwhelmed. And the shapeshifters are like, bring the whole room over. It's fine. I love it. More sensation, more good. So they just have this endless capacity to enjoy pleasure in all its many forms. And their shadow part is that they don't always take good care of themselves because they do have that capacity to shapeshift. And so they don't always ask for what they want and need. And they can be incredibly frustrated and deprived in their sexuality because it's not robust enough for them, but they don't know how to ask for that.
So they might shapeshift into what their partner wants rather into what they want themselves. So
Yeah.
I suspect that a lot of us are not so strong, so overwhelmingly one or the other, but we do have a mixture.
Mm.
That there's just like in everything, we're not always one or the other, but to be able to explore all of them and to see which one is our preference and to talk with our partner and understand that is really awesome. I
It is.
really appreciate your being on our Facebook with us on my page, and I would love if you could tell people how to get in touch with you.
Oh, sure. I'd love to. So you can visit my site. It's www.eroticblueprintcoaching.com. And there you can learn a little bit more about me and also sign up for a newsletter, which will make you aware of any programs that I'm offering. Right now, largely, I'm offering programs in the Boston, Massachusetts area and Western Mass, but I will be putting together a virtual program at some point. And so if you're on the newsletter, that would make you aware of that program.
And you can also leave I know some of you, or at least one of you, hi, Kathy, has left a comment on Facebook. Feel free to, if you have any questions for Elizabeth, she'll check back to the page during the day, I hope, or in the next couple of days and answer any questions you might have. So thank you for being with us, Elizabeth. It's
Mm,
been really fun to hear about these, and
yeah.
I look forward to even exploring them even more with my hubby, Richard. Bye,
Sweet.
everybody. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.